Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabika Jura, but first are the headlines. Uganda's education to be completely free by 2026. Mao says DP Parliamentary Caucus was consulted on the agreement with NRM. Protesters storm UN base in eastern DR Congo City. In a sports news today, Mawa named new Oduparanka coach. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has pledged to make Uganda's education free for all children by 2026. Now, Museveni said that he is disturbed by the continuous extortion of fees and other school charges from government schools, which complicates school learning. We have the report. The president was speaking during the NRM campaigns for Soroti City East flag bearer Herbert Ariko at Morapesu Primary School in Soroti City. Museveni strongly urged the people of the Teso sub-region and the country at large to reject the move by some retrogressive elements to bring back charges in schools, pointing out that his main plan was to help the children of the poor attain free education. He urged them to support the plan of the NRM government to implement universal education in Uganda before the end of the government's term. Museveni has previously indicated his dissatisfaction with teachers in government-aided schools who continuously demand for salary enhancements, causing them to introduce strange school charges. He said he wants Parliament to earmark more money to help in the provision of totally free education from primary to secondary school, which will also help reduce the rates of school dropouts. Away from that, President General of Democratic Party Norbert Mao has revealed that he will be sworn in on Wednesday as the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs at State House in Entebbe. Now, Mao briefed journalists at the DP headquarters in Kampala about the DP agreement with the ruling National Resistance Movement Party. We have the details.
On Thursday last week, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni used powers vested in him under Articles 113.1 and 114.1 of the 1995 Constitution to announce Norbert Mao as the new minister in charge of Justice and Constitutional Affairs a day after he signed a cooperation agreement with President Yoweri Museveni. The appointment was confirmed by Museveni in a tweet. While addressing journalists at their party headquarters in Kampala, DP President General Norbert Mao confirmed he will be sworn in on Wednesday as the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs.
I wish to announce that I will be sworn in tomorrow at State House in Entebbe at 10 a.m. as the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. And thereafter the Parliament will invite me to be sworn in as an ex-officio MP without a constituency.
Mao gave an overview of what transpired as DP signed a cooperation agreement with the ruling NRM government and says now DP leaders have an opportunity to make recommendations to the government.
It is our duty to make those recommendations to the government. Being in government means that you no longer have to speak through the press conferences. You no longer have to go and shout on radio because you have the opportunity to talk to decision makers. It will be our duty to make recommendations to the President of Uganda to make sure we get his buy-in. The President of Uganda must be made to agree with the proposals.
Mao said he is optimistic about the DP-NRM agreement and open to criticism and will explain to those DP members that claim were not consulted on the agreement.
That's why you have noticed that I have not been as tough as usually I am. Because the Norbert Mao, you know, would not just sit by and listen as people attack him and call him names. You know me better by now. I would at least release a few missiles. But I've decided that when people are speaking out of limited information, it is your duty to give information. So I have decided deliberately to spend time explaining to our leaders what really happened.
Mao said the National Executive Committee meeting will sit and collect signatures on whether Mao remains as the DP president. He said members are welcome to express their opinions. Nalgo Muyingo, Africa Today.
We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back from the break. It's watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news, protesters stormed a United Nations base in the eastern Congolese city of Goma on Monday, demanding the departure of peacekeepers from the region. Take a look at the story.
Hundreds of people blocked roads and chanted anti-UN slogans before storming the headquarters of the UN peacekeeping mission in Goma, as well as a logistical base on the outskirts of the city. The protesters smashed windows and looted computers, furniture and other valuables from the headquarters. The UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, MONUSCO, has come under regular local criticism for its perceived inability to stop fighting in the conflict-torn east. Over 120 armed groups roam the volatile region, where conflict has displaced millions of people and civilian massacres are common. The latest protest comes after the president of the Congolese Senate, Modeste Bahati, told supporters in Goma on July 15th that MONUSCO should pack its bags.
Moving on in international news, the president of Guinea-Bissau and current chairman of ECOWAS, Umaro Sissoco Embalo, visited Ouagadougou on Sunday to discuss the time frame for the transition to civilian rule in the country. At the end of January, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damiba overthrew President Roch Marc Christian Kabore, who was accused of having been unable to curb the jihadist violence and made the restoration of security his priority. Umaro Sissoco Embalo said that the major aspects and axes that they believe are important for the transitional government to focus on are the security challenge, humanitarian issues, the return to constitutional order, and the mobilization of resources and the establishment of a monitoring and evaluation mechanism, including the ECOWAS mediator, the African Union, and the UN representatives in Ouagadougou. During the visit, the recently appointed chairman of ECOWAS praised the progress made in the security situation. Since 2015, like its neighbors Niger and Mali, Burkina Faso has been caught up in a spiral of violence attributed to armed jihadist movements. Away from that, Tunisians were called to the polls on July 25th to decide whether they endorsed a new constitution that would give extensive powers to the president. Now, many activists rejected this referendum, saying it is part of Kais Said's authoritarian anti-democratic drift.
According to the head of the Electoral Authority, 12% of voters had cast their ballots at midday, claiming it was a good turnout. This referendum took place a year after the Tunisian leader ousted the elected parliament. After voting, Saidi defended his stance, saying it would end economic and political stagnation. Some, however, say that this text could put a halt to the democratic movement, which emerged after the Arab Spring in 2011. As the new constitution would allow the president to name judges, revoke members of the government as he pleases, and his bills would be given priority treatment. The first results should be announced on Wednesday and the final ones on August 28th.
Moreover, international news, South Africa officially requested the extradition of two Gupta brothers currently in the United Arab Emirates on charges of money laundering and fraud. According to Bernard Lamola, South African Justice Minister, the matter relating to Gupta brothers, the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Atul Kumar Gupta and Mr. Rajesh Kumar Gupta, commonly known as the Gupta brothers, are accused persons in two criminal matters. The brothers were arrested in Dubai in June 2022 on the basis of an Interpol red notice launched by Pretoria. They are accused of having looted Africa's most industrialized country with the complicity of former President Jacob Zuma. The pair disappeared from the radar in 2018 after a commission was created to investigate on corruption in the country. The Guptas are notably accused of having influenced for a decade the appointments of heads of public companies and ministers and diverted contracts worth several billion. Shamila Batohi, director of National Prosecuting Authority in South Africa, who also warned that extradition could take several months, explained that they are ensuring that all cases have the necessary resources and support from the Department of Justice. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, health and sports. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Talking matters business, Russia's top diplomat Sergei Lavrov reassured Egyptian leaders on Sunday that their orders for Russian grain would be met. The conflict in Ukraine has raised the prospect of food shortages in Africa. Take a look at the story.
During his speech in Cairo, Russia's top diplomat Sergei Lavrov denounced Western blame put on Russia for the current crisis. Lavrov said that if anybody wants to be objective, they could read statistics from the World Food Programme and from the Food and Agriculture Organization, which describes the difficulties in the food market beginning with coronavirus pandemic. Lavrov added that when some contacts and supply chains were affected, the Americans and Europeans started printing money by trillions of dollars and euros and using this money for food and medicines and other stuff. Lavrov's visit follows a landmark deal Russia and Ukraine signed on Friday with the United Nations and Turkey aimed at relieving a global food crisis caused by blocked Black Sea grain deliveries. Between 20 and 25 million tons of grain have been blocked in Ukrainian ports since Russian troops invaded in February. Before Russia invaded Ukraine, the two countries accounted for 85% of wheat imports to Egypt.
Spaghetti!
In our health news today, Jonah Luyinda, a senior 2 student of St. Martin Secondary School, Junior Mpigi, who has been battling with multiple organ failure after receiving COVID-19 vaccine, is dead. The family has confirmed.
Luyinda, 14, was vaccinated in March this year when a team of officials from the Ministry of Health went to the school and inoculated learners even before government pronounced itself on the issue of its planned countrywide mass vaccination of learners between the age of 12 to 17 years of age. Nsobuga, Jonah's brother, recently told the media that the doctors told them that his brother's organs were greatly affected. It remains unclear whether it is the vaccine that led to his ill health or whether he had other underlying health issues. Luyinda, who was getting his treatment at Chilodo Hospital, was first admitted to the general ward, but later doctors took him to the intensive care unit, saying his health condition was very serious. Multiple organ failure is a severe, life-threatening condition that usually occurs as a result of major trauma, burns or fulminant infections. Last month, The Ministry of Health said it had kicked off investigations into Luinda's case.
In our sports news today, Uganda Premier League outfit Oduparaka FC has named Haruna Mawa as their new head coach. Now, the Caterpillars confirmed on Monday that Mawa will take charge of the team on a one-year deal. According to Bernard Lamola, South African Justice Minister, the matter relating to Gupta brothers, the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Atul Kumar Gupta, and Mr. Rajesh Kumar Gupta, commonly known as the Gupta brothers, are accused persons in two criminal matters. The brothers were arrested in Dubai in June 2022 on the basis of an Interpol red notice launched by Pretoria. They are accused of having looted Africa's most industrialized country with the complicity of former President Jacob Zuma. The pair disappeared from the radar in 2018 after a commission was created to investigate on corruption in the country. The Guptas are notably accused of having influenced for a decade the appointments of heads of public companies and ministers and diverted contracts worth several billion. Shamila Batohi, director of National Prosecuting Authority in South Africa, who also warned that extradition could take several months, explained that they are ensuring that all cases have the necessary resources and support from the Department of Justice. Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.